morning, everybody. We're back again with another episode of Conversations That Cure. My name is Corey Sturkey, aka Bonezdagoat.
I'm Michael RYDER, aka Ryder Grooms.
Gregory Sturkey, Pops.
So this week on this episode, we want to kind of share or shed light on some current things that I'm dealing with, Ryder's going to eventually deal with, and things that my father has dealt with in the past. You know, being a father, it's not always glitz and glamour, and it's not, everything doesn't go perfectly as planned. So when you encounter some of those things as a parent, you know, you're raising a human being, there has to be a level of discipline or some type of discipline in your child to make sure that your child doesn't go astray and understand structure and responsibilities. So for me this week, man, I get home, I had a long trip, I get home, and I get up to the school to pick up my son, and they call me in the back, and he did some mess at school, and it pissed me off so much. He got me so mad, and I wanted to punch him in his chest right there in the school, but I always made that promise I would never embarrass my child in front of his friends. You know, I feel like the time and place, and my parents never did that with me, and I feel like I turned out good, so I feel like I'm not going to start a new trend with my kid. But I understood that I had to discipline him with that. And that's hard for me because my son, that's my best friend. You know, like that's my guy. I talk to him not like an adult, but I try to have as many mature conversations as I possibly can with him because I'm trying to prep him now at 10 years old to have a different mindset by the time he gets my age. So it's hard when I have to be the disciplinary parent a lot more often than mom does at certain times. So it was hard for me because I had to discipline him, but then I understand he's going to be pissed off with me for disciplining him and not doing things. It's like, bro, I want to go do fun stuff with you. I ain't seen you in a week. I was out of town, and I come back and I got all these plans and things I want to do with him, and I got to scratch all of that because you want to act a fool at school. But it took me back to a moment when I did discipline my son in the way that I felt was fit. Afterwards, I always make sure to sit down and talk with him. And I know he probably don't give a damn what I got to say. You know, he just beat my behind. I ain't trying to have no conversation with you, like get out of my face, you know? But I understood, like, I can't leave him in that state. You know, I can't just discipline him or yell at him or spank him, whatever I have to do, and just leave. Like, there has to be reasoning behind it, and he has to understand why I did it. Not so that way he won't be mad at me, but so that way when he gets older, because he's not going to understand right now. When he gets older, it'll make more sense to him. Like, when you whooped my behind when I was a kid, like, this nigga will beat me like I was a stranger. You know what I'm saying? But then he'll walk out the room for like 10, 15 minutes and come back in there and want to talk. Yeah. And I didn't want to talk. There's nothing to talk about. My butt's still burning, you know what I'm saying? Or I'm upset about what you did, but he will always make me talk. And it didn't make sense to me until later on in life, I understood like why he did that. So why did you do that?
Well, I did that, first of all, is because if I'm going to discipline you, as hard as I discipline you, I'm going to let you know I love you too. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to conversate with you. But it gets to the point to where I can relate to, I remember when I was going through that with you. And it was hard for me to discipline you at times because I felt that I needed you to like me. It was important that you liked me as a father.
I'll be feeling like that. I feel like I'm high too.
Yeah, it was important that you look up to me and all. And then I had to realize this, that you was my son. You wasn't my friend.
Yeah.
You was my son. I had to prepare you for life because if I didn't discipline you at home,
somebody else is.
What's going to happen to you? You're going to get out in the street, you're going to cut up, and then the cops going to discipline you.
Yeah.
Then your jail time would have been real instead of me disciplining you at home and whipping your behind home, and your room is your jail time.
Yeah.
Not actual life putting you in jail. You know what I'm saying? So I did that. You know what I'm saying? It got to the point when I was doing that, I had to make the decision within myself. You either gonna be his father, and y'all gonna develop a great relationship as he gets older, or you gonna try to be his friend right now, and then just let him get away with anything. And then I had to make the decision and say to myself, I don't care at this age if you don't like me. But you're going to know that my father's here, that he loves me.
Yeah.
And so that's why I had to do those things to you, but I always wanted to come back and sit down with you. I never wanted you to feel that was more important for me to get my point across and whip you behind.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to feel like that. I wanted you to know this is why you got disciplined.
No, definitely. And I had an incident where when I was away, as a matter of fact, he got in trouble with something with the teacher at school. And I'm on the phone, I'm yelling at him. I'm not here physically, so I can't do nothing. So I'm yelling at him, and I'm upset. And we get off the phone, and I had a moment. I was like, oh, shoot, I got to call him back. Because I remembered I didn't tell him I loved him before I got off the phone with him. And I had beat him up verbally so much on the phone, like not like abusing him, but I had to let him know, like, bro, you was dead wrong for this. Like, you tripping. But when I called him back, only thing I said to him, I said, hey, man, you pissed me off. Don't understand that. I'm pissed. I said, but I still love you. Just know that. Daddy still love you. I don't hate you. I still love you, but you just pissed me off. And when I said that to him, he broke down crying. And it was that moment, as a 35-year-old father now, now I understood, I truly and fully understand exactly why you did it the way that you did. And it makes sense to me before, but it doesn't make perfect sense until you're really in it and living it.
Yeah.
And I had to tell him that because I understood. I was like, I can't just leave him beat up like that. You know, he's 10 years old. So when I got on the phone and I said to him, I was like, hey, man, Daddy still love you. You just pissed me off, but I still love you. You got to do better, and you're going to do better. We're going to do better. I had to reassure him now, like there's a quote from Zig Ziglar that I love. He's like, failure isn't a person, it's an incident. It's an incident. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not a failure because you missed the mark right now. That doesn't make you a failure. You know what I'm saying? And I had to put an end to that conversation. And I feel like a lot of parents don't do that with their kids. They'll just beat them, like, go to your room and go to bed.
Yes.
All right, you beat me, I go to my room, I'm going to bed.
Yes.
But then you leave the wound open. Like, no, I'm gonna whoop your behind, but then I'm gonna comfort you with love. This nigga used to say to me, he's like, I beat you because I love you. I'm like, bro, you can't love somebody and beat them like that. There's no sense. That doesn't make any sense. The logic, the math ain't mathing for me.
Yeah.
I think that's how, so like obviously, you know, you guys know, like my mother was my mother and my father. So she was the alpha and the omega, right? The disciplinary, everything. And I think my biggest thing was she would rule the house in fear, and almost, right? Like, just I've heard you said it before, like, yo, you were afraid to like disappoint her, like to disappoint your dad.
Yeah.
I was the same way with her. Like, I was afraid to disappoint her because I knew, like, if I was disrespectful or if I disappointed her in that sense, like, it was the fear of like, oh my God, like, I already know what's gonna happen. If I said something out of line that like she didn't like or whatever, that I feared it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was so much different for me growing up because I never wanted to let and it's your mother, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't want to let her down and then have to force her hand or whatever it might be, right?
Yes.
It was a weird dynamic. And now even with me and my daughter, because I was the child that went to sleep with the wound on healed still, right?
Okay.
Like, I would get beat and I didn't want to talk.
Okay.
I didn't want to have that conversation with you afterwards. I'd be in the bed turned over, just not, I'm done. I'm good. We'll talk about it another day. I'm still like that, even still to this day, right? Like, we can have an argument, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
All right.
Whenever, not in that moment. Let me sit in these emotions. So with my daughter now, even, that's not the way I want it to be. I want to have that relationship where if you're disrespectful, you go against the grain, you do something wrong, I need to be able to, one, discipline you, and then also we need to learn from this together. What did I do wrong as a parent that led you to get to this level? And what can we do better together to get you to the next level?
Good stuff.
Because like the first thing for me is like when Kai gets in trouble, I don't think about what he's doing wrong. I think about what is life looking like, what does life look around him? Like what's going on in life for him at that moment? Because 9 times out of 10, it's a reaction to his state.
Yep.
You know, and as a parent, a child, they do what you show them, not what you tell them 9 times out of 10. So my thing is like, what am I showing or what am I doing wrong that makes this boy feel that he could do this stupid mess and not have to worry about any repercussions behind it? So immediately I took accountability for it. Like when his teacher texted me, I wrote her back and said, I want to apologize on behalf of me and his mother, because he's 10. Now, when I say he's 10, that doesn't mean I'm not making an excuse for it, but I'm not ignoring the fact that he's a child. He's a boy, and he's gonna do stupid things. But my job as a father is I gotta try to eliminate anything that's in his life that can furthermore encourage him to do those stupid things. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's a trait that I learned from my dad that I practice with Kai now. It's like that open door type policy with Kai. And I feel like I have to practice that even the more now because I have a daughter. You know? And there's going to be there's certain conversations that you have with your son that a man looks forward to, and there's a conversation that you have with your daughter that a father's dreading.
Yeah.
Like having a conversation with sex about Kai, that don't scare me.
Yeah.
But sitting down with Nova and I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that. So the thing that I love most about me being a father, and I feel like it's got to be important for fathers in general, is like, bro, build your community with other fathers.
Yeah.
With other fathers that have like mind, like we think the same way on how we want to raise our child, and we think the same way on the type of world we want to bring our child up in. And I think because I have a lot of father figures around me that have daughters, I'm not as nervous
Going through
it as possible. Because shit this nigga went through with my sister, I'm gonna be straight, y'all. He know a lot of stuff. I got a lot of knowledge that I can get from him to deal with certain things.
to help you get through
To
that.
help me get through.
But you know, I think that's good that I don't see like a lot of fathers practice is accountability. And when you said that you went back to yourself because Kai is only 10 years old, at that age, he practices what he sees.
Yeah.
So for you to go back to yourself and say to yourself, okay, what is it that I need to work on?
Yeah.
Where did I miss it at? And when you apologize to the teacher, and I even wonder how many fathers would do that. Apologize to the teacher for something the child did, and then throw it off on a child and say that the child is just bad behavior. When if the child is 10, the child's only practicing what he sees at home.
Yeah, I agree.
So to go back and say that, and you took accountability, because our children, what do? They practice what they see us do.
Yeah.
Even at your age, when I learned something new about what I did wrong, that I didn't have the knowledge of, I'll come back to you now at this age and we'll talk about it. Because I don't want you to trip over what I tripped over. So I think it's important, choosing a community of men, that you find men that want to be accountable.
Yeah, and then even like apologizing like that, like I apologize to Kai about some things where I mess up, And I do that because I don't ever want him to feel that I'm perfect.
Yes.
I need you to see that, like, even in my flaws, I'm still dad.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with having flaws. That's what makes us human.
But even in that right there, saying that is so true. But as fathers, we struggle with that.
Yeah.
as men.
Yeah,
As men.
men.
Because it's something that even I'm
It's an
working
ego
on
thing, too.
personally.
Yeah.
It's definitely an ego thing.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's an ego thing because we don't deal with the inside and say it's okay
Yeah.
to be exactly where I'm at. I want to be there, but I'm not there right now.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. I definitely agree with it. But it's just that boy got me tight, man. He pissed me, and I was so mad because he was like, bro, I wanted to take you to the new miniature golf spot this week. I was gonna go buy him the games for the Xbox so we could play it, and I just had to just it. As much as and now it makes even more sense. It's like, you know how your parents beat you, say, this hurt me more than it hurts you.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I was hurt this week, you know.
Yeah,
I wanted to hang out and do fun things with him, but I had to stay steadfast and showing him that, like, hell no, this is cause and effect.
Yes.
I think that's very important that you even just said that, because of the fact that, like, if this is the rule, right? This is what you're being disciplined for, and here's where you went wrong. I need to stand my ground on that. That's one thing that I see personally with even I can't discipline my child for something wrong, and then, you know what, you're disciplined for 30 minutes, an hour, and then everything's back to normal. We can just keep on. No, I gotta stand. That's the way I was raised. Like I said,
I gotta let this burn.
if I got in trouble and beat at 4 o'clock, you best believe at 6, 7, everything wasn't good. We still have that lingering. You still need to learn that lesson in that moment.
Yeah, that's right. Because that's why you find a lot of men, a lot of young men, are in jail.
Yeah.
Because they were not disciplined. And when they were disciplined, it only lasted like 20 minutes. And then the parents let up on them. No, it's a cause and effect. You get out. If you cut up home and you don't respect me, your parents, well, you ain't gonna respect them. I'm your first authority.
It'd be like, if I don't do this, my mama don't talk to me like
Yeah,
this.
my
You hear
mama-
people say that, my mama don't be like, who are you?
Yeah.
You know, you hear it all the time, but
That's right.
I ain't raising no punk.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I'm
That's
saying? I'm trying to raise a strong, respectful young man,
That's
accountable young man.
That's
And,
right.
you know, with structure, it comes moments of being uncomfortable. It
Yeah.
comes with, you know, you got to be disciplined. And you just have to deal with it, you know? Like yesterday, we walked and take out the trash. He was like, man, the weather's so nice.
You know what you're trying to get at.
He was
Be nice to be outside.
He was trying to get you to let up.
Yeah,
And I know it poked you. I know it poked you.
Because I'm thinking, I was like, it's the last day before they go home with their mom. I was like, you know what, I could let, and I told him, like, I know it is.
Uh-huh.
You ain't going outside, you
Going
still on
outside.
punishment.
That's right. And you know something that's funny? You was on punishment too.
I was.
You was on punishment for your emotions that
Yeah.
you wanted to let them up.
I
You
did.
had to discipline yourself and say, nah.
Just as
Nah.
much as he learned this week, I had to learn as well. I had, because I'm sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, I fold sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I definitely fold, but it was like this week from what happened, it's like, hell no. Like, you got to sit here and you got to really, really dwell in this and make it real.
That's right.
Like, one thing that you mentioned earlier was like how you still struggle, like, to this day with, like, sitting in those emotions and dealing with it. Like, in our household, with how we did things, that wasn't a luxury that we had. You know, it was like, if there's an issue, we dealing with this right now. Mm-hmm. And we done broke furniture having arguments with each other, like legit broke furniture. But he would not let me leave that table, and I wouldn't get up from that table until there was an understanding. And that's the biggest thing for Kai, is like, I don't take joy in whooping your behind, but I have to make sure that you understand why.
Yes.
That's a big thing.
Because if I beat you for no reason, now it's just abuse.
That was just abuse.
It's just abuse. But if I had to whoop your behind and I have that conversation with you afterwards and I'm telling you, like, this is why. Because there's times I beat him and I cry. I go in the room and I cry.
Yeah.
Because it pulls on me. It hurts me
Yeah, it
that
hurts.
much. But I have to do it. But then I also understand, it's like, that's the difference between abuse and discipline.
That's right.
I don't abuse my kids. Because I don't whoop them and leave them feeling defeated and not knowing what to do to take the next step. Or if I encounter this situation again, how do I get out of it? You whooping my behind's not doing nothing for me.
Yeah.
And when you're talking to me, when you're whooping me, I'm not even paying attention to that because you're whooping me.
Because it hurt.
Because it hurt. But I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk to you, and that's what's going to separate the difference between you being abused and me disciplining you and setting you up to make sure that like, hey man, we don't want to go down this road again.
Right.
Because you know what's crazy, Ryder? I put it to you like this. If my dad would have just beat me as a kid and never had those conversations with me, I would have gotten way more whoopings than I got in my life. I can count how many times he beat me.
Yeah, and that's real.
I can count it on one hand.
That's right.
How many times he beat me my entire life.
That's right.
Once I can count it. And it wasn't that I was an angel, because I did it. But the thing about it is like, I had so much respect for him because of the relationship that he built with me as a child, with that open door policy.
Yeah.
It made me, he didn't have to beat me.
Yeah.
He could have a conversation with me.
Yeah.
He would talk to me. But then there's always some times where he told, like when I was out away, he was like, hey, when you get home, hey, you got to handle that.
Yeah.
You got to handle that. So I'm so grateful that I was able to kind of have that realization, because it was like a crazy, like full circle for me to kind of bring it all back together, understanding the difference between, you know, being abusive and being a disciplinary parent, you know. So I say thank you for that, not for the whoopings, but for the talks afterwards.
Yes.
Because those are the ones that really, really put, left a mark in me, and now we're starting. Like that seed you planted it maybe 10, 15 years ago, maybe 20, and now it's coming into fruition now, 10 years into me being a father. But on that note, we would like to give a shout out to our first sponsor of the podcast, Conversations That Cure. Our first sponsor is Passive Consulting. This is a company I know personally and trust. The owner is a great friend of mine. When I tell you this guy is for real, Paul is the real deal when it comes to helping people and the people that are in his circle. If you've been in a car accident or a slip and fall, after you call 911, make sure you call 911 first. Make sure you call 911 first, all right? But after you make that call, pick up that phone and call my guy Paul. Please make sure you do. He will put you in the hands of trusted attorney and the medical professionals that you will need. Let Paul navigate all of your troubles, anything that you have, and help you focus on getting your justice and getting your recovery right. He's helped thousands of people. Remember, after that phone call, after you call 911, pick up that phone and call Paul. If you want to get in contact with him, you're going to go to PassiveLife.com. That is PASSV, the letter V, life.com. Car accident, slip or fall, 911, call Paul at Passive Consulting. Appreciate you guys. Make sure y'all tune in for the next week's episode. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, turn those post notifications on. We will be back with another banger. Thank you. Appreciate you from me and the team. Love, baby. Love.